Yeah, man. See, do no phone nebi. Imo den joni mi dota maka plasma penjan.
What are you doing?
Yeah, heba ko fala.
What are you some?
Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome you to our studio iAfrica TV. We are here to talk about DRRC most anticipated witness, who is no other but Sanna Sabally. As you all know, Gambians are already amazed by now, and comments are floating like water, especially on social media. Hassan.
Wow, well, viewers, like she just said, or Fatima rather, it's just interesting today that we have someone who is very, very reliable. I can say, I mean, seeing the likes of Sana Sabally, I mean, who just appeared today. I mean, many people were not even expecting, I mean, to have someone like him today, a council member, to testify at this point in the progression of the TRRC. But it's just also very interesting to see the tone that he just presented today. I mean, which many people are very optimistic that he's going to wholly say what really occurred during those dark moments, as many would say.
Yes, I would say his coming was a big surprise, but after he started making his testimony, it was obvious to so many people that as time goes on, he would actually accept some of the things that he actually did, which we have already started seeing.
Yeah.
But I must put something across, which is the point where he said when he left the Gambia, when he left the country, he actually worked as a nurse who was nursing people, nursing traumatized people,
exactly.
Which for my part I think is very ironical if you consider the allegations that were laid on him that he participated in some of the killings, especially in the November 11 killings. For that kind of person to leave the country and go to another country and be let's say, is it a psychologist or something, to be somebody that helps traumatize people, knowing that his actions have actually traumatized other people in his own homeland, for me is very ironical.
Obviously, but considering the length of time, we understand that it is over 25 years ago, because and then he left the army, because when he was arrested, he served over 9 years in jail, and then after that, life has to start again, because we've seen the likes of Alaji Kanyi, I mean, who was a military man, but later he's still serving in the security sector, but he has diverted to the immigration department. And then we've seen so many other people, the likes of Edward Singate. He also, after leaving the army, he has to go to study law, and then he became a practitioner, a legal practitioner, and then we've seen that his dimension has changed. And then we can connect that to Sanna Sabally's case,
as well. Another thing too is he mentioned key areas that that interest the population right now, considering the comments we've received, such as the issues that led to their coup, which were nepotism, but on top of all, corruption. He mentioned that corruption was mostly what pushed them to overthrow the past government.
Yeah, exactly. But we can also see in the testimony, I mean, we've seen where Esa was trying to press him, to substantiate the basis that what they outcried for, they are also bringing the same thing.
Exactly.
Once again.
Now the question here is whether, even though that was part of the things that pushed them to do the coup, the big question people are asking is whether they've been able to deliver up to expectation in trying to eradicate those things.
I mean, that would amaze a lot of people, but we've seen, to be very frank, the previous government, to be very frank, did not achieve the main objectives as per their statements, because we've seen, the reason for this TRRC is because of the atrocities that they've met on the Gambians, and even to other non-Gambians. So we basically understand that everything transformed. But on Sanna Sabally, we've seen that he did not spend that much time in the APRC government, I would say, but to be precise, it is more of not just a replica, but it is more of a replica of the nepotism that they are trying to justify, that they were trying to use to justify their coup. But we can see that the issue of Fatoumata Tambajang was also raised, in this testimony, because Fall was clearly putting it to him that Fatimata Tambajang is a cousin sister, so in that case, he should not take part.
Yeah,
in
which
the,
was a clear sign of nepotism, of course.
exactly. And then Wafa Ogu also he mentioned that it is Yaya Jammeh who projected her in the selection, and then again Yaya Jammeh should have not been present in deciding whether she should be
Which is
offered.
very right if we are to look at the law, because somebody having the qualifications doesn't mean that you should take part in the decisions to bring the person in a government, especially knowing that you are related. I think that there was the appointment of Fatmata Tambajang and Suzanne was a clear sign of the beginning of nepotism in the Jammeh regime or the junta regime.
Exactly, but considering the most contentious part, the most contentious part of Sanna Sabally's testimony with Eshafal, we've seen a portion where Sanna was trying to justify, their cause for taking up the coup action. We've seen it has, taken a little bit time to free up that situation. We've seen Sanna was trying to be adamant that they had a cause, a genuine cause to go for that coup. And then as we can see, Esafal was also trying to connect it to the laws. But the interesting thing there is, it's like Sanna was trying to say, he was trying to highlight the draconian laws section, where you have politicians as per Sanna Sabally, who would just create laws that would suit them, that would make sure that any negative impact towards their ruling, they would demarcate certain issues to make sure that those things will not interrupt. So as per Sanna Sabally, he is trying to say that the issue of saying soldiers should not intervene in a democratized or in a civilized democratic government, is a measure hired by the politicians to safeguard their political agendas, also to be able to do away with anything that they have to do, as far as their role
Yeah,
is
with regards to
concerned.
that, the military being a very important fragment of our society, of our country, I think it's important that the population have a broad knowledge of what the military is and what it entails, so that when some of these things happen, it will be easier for the general public to have a proper understanding as to reasons of why this happened and why that happened.
Exactly. But again, Fatimata, we've seen he clearly mentioned that the process of making sure they have the right people and then the right procedures to take up this coup d'état, it took them over 7 months. Which they were trying to identify the right people for the procedure. We've seen also he mentioned the initial people that were part of the coup. But interestingly, we have two people that were part of it, but they retracted. They at the end of the day they were not willing to go ahead with it. We have the Nurcham and this guy. Is it Alpha Kinte, I guess? But on the Nurcham, as we see the unfoldings, he should have been the chairperson if he was part of it. Yeah, and then we will understand that he would have been the chairman, and one like Yaya Jammeh would have not been the chairman at the end of the day.
Could it be that he later refrained because he wanted to organize his own side coup in order for him to, because he might have already knew the potentials of even though they were under him, he might already knew their potentials.
But it could anyway, we don't know the reason exactly, but evidently he was a most senior man, because we can see all the others were second lieutenants, and then for him he was a major, and he was part of it, but at the end of the day he just retracted.
He withdrew.
Perhaps he was not sure whether it is going to.
Also, another interesting and very contradicting thing he said was the fact that the military is responsible for protecting the lives of people and also overseeing their human rights. This to me is very contradicting, looking at what happened at the allegations laid on him and the council members, of course, on November 11. If the military is supposed to protect the lives of the citizens, why would they participate in the killings of those November 11 alleged coup participants?
Exactly, but it's like we have Sajo on the line. Hello, Sajo. Hello, Sajo.
Sajo
Yes,
is
Alasan.
actually at the TRC to cover some of the events. We'll have him. I think he's on the line.
Yes, Sayo.
Yes, Alasan. How are you?
Yeah, fine, fine. How are you too?
We're fine. We're quite okay here.
Well, you were there at the TRRC, as we see. I mean, we just seen Sanna Sabally is testifying at the moment. Can you tell us the atmosphere? I mean, down there at the TRRC.
Well, Alasan, this early in the early morning of today, we saw a convoy that came in the barge into the TRC perimeter. Not knowing who the witness is, as the general public was concealed with this idea that it was Yankuba Toure to appear before the TRC. When the council yesterday in the press conference said it would be an interesting witness here. But to our utmost surprise, we saw Sanna Sabally presented as the witness to the TRRC today. When he came, it was in a black range escort that he was escorted in. So the atmosphere is here today. You can see so many plain clothes of the intelligence agencies and so many in uniform, whilst the media fraternity are back in here, all coming from different workplace of the media house today here. Even you can recognize some international faces also of the media here are present today at the TRC.
Yes. Yeah, Sayo.
Yes.
Yes, we've seen it's like Sanna Sabally is a bit cooperative because we've seen even from the comments that we are receiving, it's like many people are optimistic that Sanna is going to, I mean, cope with the situation. That is, he's going to tell the whole truth as far as the TRC is concerned. So, I mean, do we have anything to relay on that?
Yes, I can tell you something. You remember that Sanna, when they took over the country, he was the vice president according to the rank. When Sadibu and Duri Chambu withdrew from the coup d'etat, so I say automatically it went to Lieutenant Jame to be the chairman, and he followed next as he was the second lieutenant as the vice president. And then Sanna was with the Jame regime until when he has to fall out with the government of Jame, and then being jailed for 9 years. In prison in Mile 2, so he wouldn't have anything to lie for, because he knew at certain point he was in command, and at certain point of time also he was a culprit. He was a victim of the Jame regime, so he has nothing to lie here, as obviously people know what he did. So in contrary, swearing to an oath, and then records are being kept of what he did here. If he has to lie, it is to his own detrimentary. So Sanna has been frank enough. He's been frank enough and very cooperative to the commission, bringing out the truth and then setting other people free who have been even labeled to be part of this coup d'etat. Sanna said the Muslims that have been said to be part of it, of the coup d'etat, are not even part of it. Even the American government, which was once accused of being the part of the coup d'etat, Sanna said the Americans, we are never part of it. Whosoever says that, the individual is only talking something that he did not, because that day on the 22nd July happened to be the annual training that the American government, in partnership with the Gambia government, do have for the Gambia Armed Forces. So they were here actually for that purpose, and that they should have had that training. So that's why the Americans were here. And then looking at the testimony Sanna is giving here, towards he was the co-founder of this coup d'etat. He said it plain that he was the co-founder. He instigated everything. Talk to Edward, then decided to talk to people he can trust that they will not reveal the secret. Like from Edward to then to Jameton, Richard, and then the Sadibu Haidara, and so many people on, then to Yankuba Toure. So these are the people he taught in the army that can confine his ideal of organizing a coup. Even whereby they said Lawal Guadavel was part of those people to give this, to support, that's the Nigerian people, to support this coup d'etat. Sanna said they categorically clear that they were not part of the coup d'etat. So certain things were said here by some witnesses. Sanna is making clear that those were just mere allegations on certain people as the instigator of the coup d'etat. So we are here in a situation there where things are beginning to get clear, where some of the, in fact, witnesses said the TRC should do more findings as people will implicate in people to be free of this coup d'etat. So, Sanna coming here today is indeed one of the biggest achievements for the TRC throughout their witnesses that have come to witness here.
Yes, you mentioned that unlike other witnesses who have passed, he's an alleged perpetrator and a victim. But we have seen witnesses too who have passed through the TRC and are alleged perpetrators and victims as well. And somehow they've managed to conceal some part of the truth. What is the difference between Sanna and those witnesses? Because we all know he had somebody who was overseeing him at the time, who was the chairman of the junta, Yaya Jammeh then. So
yes,
would you say that Sanna was acting based on his own wills at the time? Could that be the reason why he's just accepting and not holding back any truth?
Yes, at certain point, Sanna was acting on his own, when it has to bring on certain people into the government, like the certain civilians into the government, like the case of Fatoumata and other people. He said they needed international recognition, and they needed to be accepted by the international people, that they are a government or a new government that just come in place that needs help from the outside world. So in order to do so, people like Tambajang, who have the qualification, have been brought up. And then this is where the lead council thought that this is nepotism, which they thought they came in to fight nepotism and the rampant corruption. They accused the Dawda Kairabas Jawras regime. So in other line, Sanna accepted that if that is the law, then he was acting on his own and they were doing nepotism.
Well, Sayo, we've heard from Sanna that when the first coup attempt failed, which was the 21st of July, they were left with, to either surrender and be arrested or to forge ahead. And then we've heard he said, it went to a point where he was in a tight corner where he already took out the support weapons from the unit barracks, and he was with this dilemma of how to take them back. So he had to call Jammeh, to make sure that they forge ahead with the action plan. How would you describe Sanna's action? Because many were saying he was the mastermind of the November 22nd coup.
According to his own speech, Sanna knew that if he failed to carry on with this coup d'etat, they will be arrested and executed right away from the spot. So he knew that let them go for it. Either they succeed or they kill, or they, as the Plan C, their contingency plan of Plan C, arresting the civilian people, back them as a seal, and then use them to talk to say, now even though before we surrender, we will talk to the government, so UN could come for their own security. He knew that he is the commander of all those arms, and then he cannot take them back. So the only thing is let them fight for what they thought it was right, even though they knew it is treason and it's the highest crime in a nation. But he knew they will have to go for it, and they were prepared for the worst, that is death, to kill or to be killed. So in that manner, he has to call Edward, he has to call Yaya Jammeh to pick Edward and Haidara to come all over to the police, and then so they can execute this. And finally, they did it.
It seems we've lost Alison, another very important thing that Sanna Sabally mentioned was the institution failures at the time. He mentioned institutions like NSS and the intelligence agency at the time. So this shows you how some of the institutions that were responsible of mitigating the chances of the coup happening, and also even helping international forces to bring down the junta at the time, failed in acting according to their responsibilities.
Yeah, exactly. And then even before Sanna, we've seen many witnesses who've also highlighted that point. The fact that the security, especially the intelligence, did not really do what they had to do to stop the coup, because we've also seen that even the lead council has been putting it to Sanna Sabally that, I mean, the issue of rumor has been, rotating within the. It was not an open secret to that extent, because many officers that were not even part of it, knew that there was, a coup plan. So if they had really did their job, I mean, as expected, they could have at least liquidated these, plans of the juntas that just took over the Jawara regime. Even at the airport, where, I mean, Yahya Jammeh was disarmed, and his military police personnel, I mean, where they initially planned to take over Jawara's regime. So we understand that the security, sorry, the intelligence security rather, were getting the information, but they were very lax at the moment.
Joining us on the line right now is Fatou Camara from the Fatou Network. Good afternoon, Mrs. Camara, Miss Camara rather.
That's okay.
Yes,
that's fine.
as a concerned Gambian,
I'm not sure if the noise, if there is noise, but I'm driving right now.
Yes, as a concerned Gambian and a close monitor of the TRRC, what is your overview of the whole testimony?
You mean today's testimony?
Today's testimony, yes, please.
Well, I'm watching closely, because when Sanna Sabally, Jammeh, Edward took over, we just finished high school at that time, so we did not get to know a lot of information, because that time we were not very exposed to the internet like you all are right now. So a lot of the things we get to know, yes, we read some stuff about the coup, but now what the information that we got, what I learned from that is that one, there was negligence, and I was sending in a text message to somebody from the Jawara government who I asked what happened. But then they're saying it was because Nigerians were on the top command of the military. That could be the lapse. But definitely looking at this, listening to Sanna Sabally narrating everything that happened, him being transferred, and how he got permission from his senior man to go take some days off. And when he met another military, asked him to leave and go back to where he's posted, all of that could tell you, all of this could have been avoided, because things happened. And the government should have known, but I think there was negligence too.
Yes, military is responsible for protecting the lives of people and basically human rights. But then again, relating back to the November 11 incident, how would you relate his statement to the incident, the November 11 incident?
Well, I think no matter what happened, the military's role is not to fight with the people in the country. They are to protect the country from external aggression. So saying that they were protecting us, I don't think that is part of their mandate. Just like Consul Fall told him, that is not something for them to do. I think that is what he was trying. He misunderstood, if you ask me. It was not their role for them to make a coup to say that they were trying to correct a system. It was not supposed to be like that.
Well, we've seen, I mean, there is a point where he has this argument with the lead counsel, Esafal. I mean, that, at certain points you have politicians that would, create certain laws to shield them, that is, to make sure that, things that would disturb their government, are being set aside, totally, like the freedom of soldiers to intervene when governments are not going accordance to the constitution of a particular nation. So he was like, I mean, the politicians just did that to to disintegrate, that is to take the soldiers away. What do you have to say on that exactly?
I didn't hear you. You're breaking. He said the constitution has to do what, and he said something about the soldiers away. What about that?
Come again. I didn't get you that.
She said the line is breaking.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I mean, he was trying to
say. Yes, I heard you said the soldiers away. I don't know what you meant.
I mean, the fact that politicians will, create draconian laws, that is laws that will favor them. So he was like,
yes.
The fact that soldiers should not intervene in a civilized democratic process is a tool that politicians use to abuse the normal citizenry.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think that is used by politicians. I think everybody has a mandate, and their mandate is not to be involved in governance or trying to correct a system in terms of because according to him, there was nepotism and they were not happy with the system that was here. That was definitely not their mandate, even if politicians say that or they don't. If you look at civilized countries, there is never a coup d'etat. So I think whatever happened could not warrant them to take over a country illegally from a democratically elected government at that time.
Yes, you've witnessed most part of the junta regime, and we've seen how the push and pull went between him and Council Fal with regards to nepotism and corruption. Do you think they've done a significant thing to try and eradicate nepotism and corruption in the country?
Well, I think I listened to that part and I said to myself, I know what Council Fal is trying to get at. He's trying to tell them that what they did was wrong, and also according to saying the constitution wouldn't allow that. But what we fail to understand, this was 29-year-olds when they came in, who were not exposed, even though the Sanna mentioned going to some training at Fort Benning in Georgia. Also, Jammeh went through some training, I think, at Fort Magulan or one of the forts. But the fact of the matter is they were not exposed. So when they came in, they were also trying to look at people that they know. They mentioned the issue of Fatmata Jallow Tambajang, and I could hear the council said, but you're related. Why did you bring him? You should not have sat at that meeting. But we also have to understand that at that time, they were going with the people that they know because it was easier. And this was also new, and they were not that exposed. I'm not trying to make an excuse for them, but I think Consul Fal, I thought, was speaking as if he didn't know, but actually he was doing his job, I guess.
Thank you very much, Fatu, for joining us. We really appreciate that.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Can we get to the claim made by a particular witness that part of their attempts were to rob the central bank? Don't you think that was a bit of an over-exaggeration, which we could actually sense from the way Council Fal put his statement to Sanna Sabally?
Well, anyways, Sanna have deliberately refuted that. I mean, he's saying that doesn't even make sense because their operation is at Yundum and the central bank is at Banjul. So basically, they wouldn't even have the time to take up all those things. So he just said, I mean, that is out of the main box. Yeah, but we've also seen, I mean, like the point that I was just trying to put. Looking at his whole testimony for now, I mean, he said, he talked about so many crucial, points, because we've seen that he was the one in charge of the support weapons rather. I mean, in case, the coup was, successful, or it has turned other way around, their plan B is to at least have some, casualties. That is, sorry, to have some, people that they will arrest to, use as, a sheet. We also understand that according to other witnesses, they are saying Sanna was responsible, for even blowing the control tower, which is responsible for, doing the normal communication at the airport. And then we've also seen where he mentioned, I mean, that he was responsible for the communication. He cut down all the communication. Even when it comes to the announcement, he went to, he realized that GRS was not working. He has to go all the way to Bonto, go in there, and then realizing that there is nothing like fuel to run the generator. He has to go back to Yundum, do all this. So we've seen that he has played a very, very...
Yes, to relate to that, he seemed to have played a very crucial role in overthrowing the past country, but it has somehow unveiled the mask that the former President Jammeh has put on to say that he was the hero of the day. Sanna's testimony has somehow unveiled that mask.
Obviously, yeah. And then the point where he even mentioned that, all of them went home. Sanna went home. Sorry, Edward went home. Jammeh went home. So he was in the tight corner of, where to put those weapons and how to get them back to the armory. So, along that, dilemma, he contacted Jammeh and then asking Jammeh, like he was saying, Jammeh has to come so that they forge ahead. But what Jammeh demanded at first, according to him, is that Jammeh said, he should be issued with a truck. That is, to go get him. But he was like, we cannot give you a truck, so you have to hire a taxi and come to that operation. So it was like Sanna Sabally was at a very, very, pivotal point. I mean, it was like most of them were at a backup state, but he has to, call them back to, to put that, spirit in them so that they they can
Yes,
continue.
from what I understand, Jammeh played a least role, but then somehow managed to eradicate all of them along the way in order for him alone to be in power.
But on Sanna Sabali's point, I mean, initially they were not like, we are going to occupy positions. They were just focused on their mission. It is until they caught they handled the state house. That was the time they realized that, that was the time they were instituting their government, that is to put people in place to make sure that normal governance will take place. But the interesting part is, many would also say that Jammeh became the chairman, even as per Sanna Sabally. He became the chairman by virtue of his seniority rank. Ultimately, among all of them, Yahya Jammeh was the one with the highest rank. So obviously he's going to be the chairman. And then the same thing applied to Sanna Sabally. He was the second in command. So we will understand that, I mean, everything went normally, but it doesn't necessarily mean, I mean, from the context, it doesn't necessarily mean Yahya Jammeh led the coup or he did the heroic job, but it is after they did the work, and then out of the situation, he became the highest ranker, and then he occupied the
In other words, he became chairman by order of rank.
Which was I mean, he said, I mean, Sanna Sabally said, I mean, the military is one of the most or one of the most well programmed institutions. So you understand that it was.
We have a contributor on the line. Let's take him. Hello, caller, please. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from the United States. You can call me Mamadou.
What's your name, please?
Mamadou Jallo.
What's your contribution to the show, please?
Quite interesting. I happen to be one of those Gambians that actually never got to see Sanna Sabally or hear him talk, because at the time, I guess growing up, he was in jail. And, it's been a name that has been sounding alarm bells all around the world for quite a while. And to finally get to see the man is quite interesting. A couple of things he said, that I'm seriously questioning. When he went to the American ambassador, for example, he made a threat, according to what he said. I guess my question is, do any of you guys actually buy that? I mean, I understand at some point as a country you do have, if you are in sole custody of a country, you can actually make demands, as in say, hey, we don't want you in our country, stuff like that. But at the time, they were not the government of the day. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I am afraid we are not in a best position to thank you for your contribution. Anyway, it was wonderful of you to call, but we might not be in a position to answer that. We will leave that to our viewers. Let's see what they think about that.
Exactly. Like you said, we are just mediators, so we cannot, I mean, have a standing point to say that this is right or this is this or that. So we just trying to facilitate it. And coming back to the main issue of who did what, and who played the bigger role. We've seen that the having Sanna Sabally today at the TRRC. I mean, I think it is the beginning of it's another level for the TRRC, because we've seen the 5 main council members. I mean, who have been adversely mentioned. The first time, or he's the first amongst them to come and witness. And then, as I said earlier, it sounds he's cooperative, because we've seen witnesses that will come and then they will outrightly deny whatever is being mentioned, or a major portion of what they have been alleged of, because we've seen where the arrest of Chongan and others, where they were put in vehicles, and it was not done in a very nice way, because they were disgraced all over town. People were seeing them. Then they were very senior officials. So we've seen his discussion with the lead counsel. He accepted the fact that they did it, and it was wrong, and he's also again trying to apologize. So we it's like we are anticipating for because we all understand the package ahead is bigger and is more it has more weight than what has already been been projected.
Yeah,
so
but so far I think it would somehow make the work of the TRC easier, but also would be a big blow to the past witnesses who have tried in their very own possible ways to conceal some part of the truth, thinking that Sanna Sabally might be unavailable for the TRRC, or not actually anticipating Sanna Sabally's presence at this particular point in time.
Exactly. Coming back to the point that we've seen that Chongan and others basically the point that Sanna just highlighted. I mean, like, there was someone from the police, a senior official, a lady, who came and informed them that Chongan was planning a coup.
Yes, and that part was never mentioned.
No,
in the
it was
TRRC.
never mentioned
Could it be
anywhere.
an oversight by Chongan and others?
Anyway,
Or could it be untrue?
Anyway, so I believe as we are having witnesses, we will be seeing the other sides of other people, because
Stories will unfold. Yes,
obviously,
definitely.
because we've understood that, no matter how you say, I mean, there must be some portion of you that you will left out, because we've seen contradictory statements from witnesses. I mean, witnesses that were at at one time at the same spot, did the same thing at the same time, but what this one will say and what the other one will say will be sometimes slightly different, sometimes totally different.
Yeah. Another interesting thing is from observations and from the comments we are receiving on the comments are actually unexpected. If you compare the anticipation that of people before hearing testimonies from other witnesses who actually put every blame on Sanna Sabally, it's like he seems to be a very charismatic man. Looking at the comments, because some people have actually started branding him as a hero. Also, looking at the expressions of some of the commissioners, to say,
Yeah. On that, we've seen. I mean, the likes of JCB Mendy. I mean, over social media. I mean, from Facebook, WhatsApp, everywhere. People were like very, very angry. I mean, we understand he committed atrocities, but the way he was during the commission, it's like majority of those that his testimony were not cool with him, and most of them were like he was not on the point. That is, he was not willing to tell the truth. And even on WhatsApp, we've seen statuses, people all over the country, with some with very negative comments. But we've seen, because as we can see some of our comments here, we've seen, irrespective of what have been said on Sanna Sabally, it has been clicking on my mind. I mean, why? I mean, it is going this way.
the sudden change as to
Yeah, because
to people's reactions.
when the TRC started, many people were like, Sanna Sabally gave most of the
we
others.
have a contributor on the
Okay.
line. Good afternoon, sir. What's your name and where you're calling from, please?
Good afternoon. My name is Lamines Demba. I'm calling
What's
from
your
London.
contribution to the show, please?
Thank you very much. Great program. I just want to keep in my concern about the security situation, because following various witnesses that has appeared before this commission, we as a citizen today, what we should be asking ourselves is how the July 22nd coup d'etat actually shaped up. We've seen various security lapses. In Sanna Sabally's testimony today, a very important security lapse that occurred was Sanna himself said he was transferred to Farafenni. Apparently, he returned, back to the combos on a flimsy excuse from the boss, and returning back to the combos, he went back to mingle with the services. And at some point, I believe it could have been very salient if that could have been picked up. And somebody should have sort of said, look, this man who's been transferred to report in Farafenni, why is he reappearing back into the activities in the combos? To an extent, he was able to do what he does. So as a nation today, what we should be asking, we've seen so many security lapses. The reason why the July 22nd coup d'etat actually took place is as a result of various security personnel failing their duty to the nation. And I hope we are taking notes of such, because I'm sorry to say this, but this is the culture in the country. Even today, police officers will be brewing attires. You come and report a crime, they are failing the nation. It's about time we step up. Every important incident is important because it could lead into things like such. As a result of that, we've been gone through 22 years of hardship, murder, torture, you name it. If along the line somebody was doing their job right, possibly, probably, these 22 years mishaps will have been averted at some point. But I'm afraid, as a nation, we have been let down, and I hope we are picking up this thing. It's quite important. Security people have to be alert. Let them go by the procedures. There are issues you should never neglect. Things like that should have been picked up on, simply like that. But Sanna went to Farafenye and making an excuse to come back to do whatever he's doing in Combo. That's unacceptable. That shouldn't have happened. But like I said, we are not stock checking here. It's about time the security sort of take things seriously. Security of the state, your lapse as an individual could lead the nation into a disaster of 22 years that has happened. Probably somebody was able to pick up on that point. Sanna would have been disciplined or dismissed from the soldier because he was deliberately going against the rules of the service. He shouldn't have come back to Combo on that flimsy excuses to be able to carry out this coup d'etat, if you ask me. So this is my contribution. I hope the nation is watching. We are taking stocks of what should be and what led us to this 22 years mayhem that we've been through. It's simply due to lack of respect to our duties. It's simply deviating from our duties. This is what put us into this mayhem today.
Thank you very much. That was a very good observation and contribution.
Well,
that I believe Sanna has mentioned in his testimony, which we earlier discussed, which is a very important point. He mentioned the security lapses, the institutional lapses. We can also relate this to his point that the way the Nigerians trained them was somehow not. The Nigerians were somehow incompetitive with regards to the trainings they were giving to the Gambia Armed Forces, which could have played a great role in the Gambia Armed Force mindset as of now.
Well, the caller he made a very, very important point. I mean, which many witnesses have also highlighted. I mean, the issue of the security lapses. I mean, especially the intelligence. I mean, like he just said, Sanna was supposed to be in Farafenye. He took a pass and he came to Yundum purposely, for the coup. And then, as he was testifying today, he said he was summoned to go and answer to the army headquarters, and when he went there, he was asked to go to see the Nigerian commander, and where he took his pass, and then tore the pass.
Everything was so easy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
because he even mentioned that the Nigerians were very good on the administrative part, but when it comes to the underground job, there was something lacking.
Exactly. So sometimes it sounds very, very awkward, seeing the whole situation where the whole barracks is talking about the coup issue. It was attempted, the Jame and his people were disarmed at the airport, where in fact some of the witnesses said, when Jawara came, the usual routine of of processing him when he comes, it was kind of frustrated. When he came, he just used the car and then they left for State House. So it was something that was known, but no action was taken.
Yeah, could we say that senior officials in the army too failed the nation somehow, because the coup was actually supposed to take place on the 21st, but somehow it failed because they didn't want to arrest Jawara from the airport, so they had to postpone it to the following day. But by then, some senior officials have already known.
Yeah, but the point here is, like he just said, is, I mean, if you are a security, intelligence security. I mean, when you get an information, I mean, it's very right for one to be proactive. In fact, intelligence should be ahead of information. I mean, before the public gets the information, you should have the information, process it, and take the necessary step before even the public will take it. If it is an information that when it gets to the public, it is going to cause harm, you tackle it at intelligence level, to liquidate it and
Could we say there is hope, considering the ongoing security reforms by the president, initiated by the president's advisor, Mai Fati, also the recommendations that will be made by the Trrc at the end of the whole process?
Yeah, obviously, we should be really optimistic as far as this Trrc is concerned, because looking at the whole process, any day a witness comes, we have an issue that is very, very relevant to the today governance of this country, because as far as security is concerned, when there is security, there is peace. When there is no security, there is no peace. And looking at the issue again, coming back to where we were, like the issue of intelligence. But the point is, some of the witnesses, even blame the Nigerian,
Yeah, most of them
soldiers.
did, yes.
But Sanna is refuting that. At the moment, he refuted the engagement of the Nigerians, and then the same the same
the
thing applies to Americans. But it is just funny. It is just funny that this whole thing. It was so, low. The way it was happening was so low. It's like there was nothing like security, because looking at Jammeh's regime, to be precise on that, his regime was very proactive when it comes to coups, because we've seen coups that are being staged against him, which he detects at a very early stage,
Yeah.
and then he deals with the people at a very early stage as well. We've seen the 2006 issue, and even the recent one, which
We have another
Okay.
contributor on the line. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, caller. Wait, what's your name and where you're calling from, please?
I had actually contributed earlier. I just wanted to emphasize on a point this last caller made.
Okay.
When it comes to the issue of security lapses, I sincerely believe, even though not being in Gambia on the ground, the same lapses that they had in terms of the failure of intelligence is still occurring at this present moment. I can recall something. Do you guys remember the names Umpa Mendy and the people, the guys that went with Jammeh to Equatorial Guinea? When they came back to the country, for some reason, they got in, and it took quite a while before they could be apprehended. Okay, I talked to people going back and forth in Gambia. One of the things that happened is within the security sector is a lack of communication within the different agencies that are in place. If you look at, say for example, I remember the testimony of the former IGP, the one that resigned prior to the current IGP taking over. One of the things he mentioned was when I think Faraba was happening, he got a phone call. He was supposed to travel to Dakar in one of his testimonies, I think. And then he got a phone call from the director of the NIA. And that's when he knew basically something was going on. But at some point, according to what he said, they could not even communicate with their people on the ground. Now, I guess the question I'm wanting to ask is, and I know you guys are not going to answer that. You guys are just, you're doing your job. At what point can somebody have a number of troops, whether it be it the police or the military? Could you be in a situation where you cannot communicate with the people that you have on the ground? How can you be making your decisions without having some sort of a coordination between you, wherever your command center is, and the number of people that are out there? I guess the bottom line is, and I'm about to hang up the phone, whatever the mistakes that happened back in 1994, it's still there. It wouldn't take much, and I'm telling you this, unless, considering the fact that we've got, I guess, ECOWAS troops in Gambia, but if a bunch of soldiers decided today to take up arms against the present-day government, with a proper strategy, they could be able to make it. I sincerely believe that.
Oh, okay.
And thank you for your time. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This man also said something very, very important. He just connects us to Umpamendi and co, who later came back when they went with Yahya Jammeh. It took days, it took time before they were arrested, which rose eyebrows during the time. Many were like, how can the security people be in their normal duties, and we have people like this coming back to this country without their notice, and many believe that it is in fact people that were close to those people that leaked the information that these people have entered the country. But left to the security apparatus alone, it would have not been able to detect that such people are back in the country.
Yes, the lapses are still there, as he said. The lapses are still there. But as I said earlier, hopefully the security reforms will play a greater role. Also, the TRC recommendations. All viewers, that's all we had for you with regards to Sanna Sabally's testimony on today's TRRC. We'll get back to you at the end of his.
Yeah, so we will be going back to the TRRC to have the normal process as well. That is, Sanna Sabally is continuing his testimony, and beginning from any point from now, we expect that. And bye for now.
Bye for now. Please stay tuned.